welcome back to episode 3 of Turn the Page, a Saturday night gaming production. We're back to tell you all the coolest news about toys, comics, and movies with our favorite characters of all time, and we're going to debate either the actors or the comic book issues, anything of that nature. Why? Because I'm Star Power, I'm Tony Stevens, I'm hosting the show, and I say that's how it goes. And to my right is my adorable sidekick, Ronnie. Go ahead and say hi. See, he did it. And then to my left, we've got the artist extraordinaire, Beardy McBearson. We've got the adorable yet sex appeal, John McClay. Now, guys, last episode where we left off, of course, welcome back, Ronnie, because he was in the multiverse fixing some time issues last time. He's back.
It's quite a doozy.
Right, your reality is still normal. Thank you for keeping reality normal. It's a huge job that he holds doing that for us. But we left it off talking about Batman.
Oh, did we?
We did, and I wanted to get back into that. I wanted to dive right back into the Dark Knight. And what we're going to do first, I think, would be to release some of the news that's been going on. And I want to turn that over to Ronnie for a real quick second so he can tell us some of the toy news that's been coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, which is a big deal in case you
Oh
didn't
yeah,
know.
it's going on this weekend.
It's going on. It's blowing up the world.
Nuts. It's really hard to kind of weed through because Marvel has just been
Slamming it. They're
slamming it. If you see their news, oh man, we'll get to that in an episode or two. But right now, I'm going to focus on the Dark Knight. We got San Diego Comic Con exclusive, which is really cool. It's Batman vs. Ninja Turtles, and you have Alfred and Batgirl, Ra's al Ghul, Batman and Robin, and then you have, of course, the Turtles and then Shredder. I mean, the ones that stand out to me the most is going to be the Shredder and
Roz,
the Roz two-pack. Yeah. And it's like that. It looks phenomenal, but
Are these separate comic books?
no,
They just did a movie, actually. The DC Animated Universe just did a movie about the
Okay,
Ninja
so
Turtles
this,
and Batman.
is it like a series?
It was just a full feature length.
which was based off an IDW comic.
Right.
So
Back in the day.
Ra's al Ghul is in this.
Supposedly, yeah.
Teamed up with Shredder? Or?
I haven't seen the movie yet. I really want to. It looked really good.
They haven't released it on my DC Universe app yet.
That's what I'm waiting for too.
Yeah, I
Get
got that.
on
so
it,
I
guys.
could-
Come
yeah.
on.
I got that so I could watch all your content, DC, and so far I'm just swamp thinging it up.
Same.
Say no more. But
So what do we know about it?
what we do know is that it's the Ninja Turtles teamed up with Batman, and they've released figures for it, which honestly I have to disagree with you. I'm not going to go for the Shredder 2-pack. I'm going straight for Raphael and Robin. Because that Robin is my favorite Robin. I didn't think I was going to like Damian Wayne when he first came out, but I love Damian Wayne. And Raphael is the turtle.
Didn't he die? Didn't Damien die?
He died, he came back, man. That's how you know you're a good Robin, is if you die and come back.
Did he come back evil?
No, he didn't come back. And he's not evil either. He's just misunderstood.
I mean,
It's
evil's a kind of misunderstanding, right?
evil's just ideals without structure.
Yeah.
And also, I heard beyond that, Mattel was also releasing a new line as well.
Oh God, yeah. The multiverse figures that they're coming out with, they're doing some that are based off of the '90s Toy Biz figures, and also some of the Kenner stuff. They have Poison Ivy, which obviously was never released, but looks amazing.
Yeah.
And then they have the Toy Biz '90s Batman, and kind of like doing it with modern articulation and stuff like that. It looks really cool. Looks just like the toy. It's
What about the backing? Are they remaking the backboard to look like those old releases as well with the Batman symbol?
No, it's still going to be just the multiverse stuff. That would have been cool though, like how Hasbro has done some of their
With the
Marvel
retro
stuff.
boxes. Those
Oh,
are amazing. I like
yes.
those. I mean, if you're the kind of collector that likes to keep things in the box, that's the kind of thing that I think you'd be interested in seeing. But if you're just in it because you like to pose your favorite people, then these are going to be the things you want to watch out for. On top of that, there's also comic book news coming out from DC. I heard that they're coming out with a new Elseworlds title.
Yeah, they're doing a Batman Nightfall Elseworlds title.
Into the Dark Multiverse, right?
Yeah, it's written by Kyle Higgins and Scott Snyder, which
I love Scott Snyder. His
God,
work is amazing.
yes.
His run with Greg Capullo was one of the best.
Is that the? No, I'm thinking about someone else.
You can
What?
think about whatever you want to think about.
yeah.
No, what else?
Tell
Is
us.
he, what else is he working?
Scott Snyder did the initial run of the New 52 Batman with Greg
Okay.
Capullo as his artist for the series.
I know Greg Capullo.
He
I know
did.
him back from the Spawn days.
Oh yeah, and he's still gotten even more amazing with his art.
You know, he's actually
His panel work is
progressed.
great.
He's progressed. You know?
Yeah, he's an evolving artist that just like he has a signature look,
Yeah.
and that hasn't changed. But for some reason, his panel work, his shadowing, his dynamics have just grown and evolved over time. Greg Capullo is one of my absolute top all-time favorites.
I was watching
Yes.
an interview with him, and he likened himself to not like a comic book artist, but the way he approaches it is an illustration job.
Right.
And so, like,
It's very cinematic.
yeah, like,
Very good job, Mr. Capullo. You have all of our reverence and respect, as always. But within that title, I heard that I think it's Javier Fernandez,
Yeah.
Javier Fernandez that's doing the interior work, but the big deal is the cover art.
Yeah, the cover artist is done by Lee Weeks, who has done a lot of stuff. His artwork with Superman was fantastic, and you really should just check out his work, or excuse me, his artwork. Period. It is absolutely beautiful. It's fantastic what he does.
And while we stay on topic about this, because that's some of the news that we had to go over, but I think that this is a good segue to broach into the next topic that I wanted to talk about, which is some of your favorite Batman storylines of all time throughout your life, just within the comics. And one of those things, just to me, as a 90s kid, what pops out in my mind is the moment when Batman solidified himself as a mortal man, which is when Bane picked him up and broke him. Now, that led into the literal Nightfall storyline in which Jean-Paul Valley had to take over as Batman, and from what I'm understanding of this new Scott Snyder co-written piece that they're doing for the Dark Multiverse, is it's that era, that Jean-Paul Valley who's taken over but more solidified in his role.
So, like, it's this is the Elseworlds title you were talking about, where it's essentially Nightfall, but it's as though like
It
Batman
had
never
never-
came back.
Maybe like it never ended.
just-
He really took the.
He just stayed working as Batman.
I think so. I haven't, because it's not out yet. I haven't read it, but from my understanding of it, that's where we're
It's
going.
that version. Of
It's
Batman.
that multiversal Earth where maybe that Jean-Paul Valley never gave up. Maybe he killed off Tim Drake as the Robin that was opposing him in his whole run as being the Azrael Bat.
And the possibilities are endless, and a better way to explain Elseworlds for anybody that might be tuning in is that it's almost like Marvel's What If series, but DC.
It's I mean, if you don't understand multiverse, it's you in the mirror, inside the mirror, inside the mirror.
That doesn't help.
No? Okay. Well, what if you existed on a different planet where you made the decision to not be such a screw up in one situation, or to not make the proper decision and not kill a person who cut you off in traffic? What would that world be like? And that would cause a multiverse, several branch off theories of, you know,
So
the
these-
road rage Ronnie and
These worlds, like kind of like in say like the Ultimate Universe of Marvel, are they exist in their own Elseworlds, or each Elseworld like a separate thing?
I think within the DC multiverse, the way they usually go over it is the 52 worlds. Or at one point in time,
Yeah,
they
50
like to cut it down to
yeah,
52
52.
because it was 52 titles, 52
So they're all
Elseworlds.
separate from each other.
But they're all separate from each other. They only string together by the essence of the
It's just
creation
not-
energy that ties them all together. And at certain times, there are characters, some overarching stories, and characters who put a crisis on
Yeah.
Infinite Worlds.
And then you take the ones that they like.
Yeah,
And-
and leave the ones that you don't like. Maybe even turn Hawk from Hawk and Dove into an overriding bad guy because they didn't want to give up another character. Who knows what DC
that
really
kind of
thinks?
brings up something that I was going to talk about.
What's that?
One of my first experiences with the Batman comic books. And correct me if I'm wrong, do you remember a Thread storyline, 2001, I think? I think it was called Armageddon, and it went through all the different.
The No Man's Land stuff.
Well, this was like there was some guy named Wave Rider who's traveling back in time.
Armageddon 2001 came
That's-
out in the 90s. Yeah,
Okay.
Wave Rider was going around. He was touching every single one of the
Yes,
heroes
yes.
to figure out who the bad
And
guy was.
Wasn't it Hawk?
Hawk ended up being the Monarch.
Yeah,
He
okay.
ended up being the big bad, which that was
Wait,
a last minute reveal.
Hawk was a monarch?
He was, because they decided that they didn't want to give up. It was originally supposed to be
Is it a,
shoot, I can't
was it
remember.
Hawk Man or was it Hawk?
It's just Hawk.
Just Hawk.
Hawkman is Carter Hall. Hawk is like vigilante level.
Yeah, so-
I'm Batman, but
That's
I'm
what I
Hawk.
thought.
And he and Dove are supposed to be the representations of war and peace,
Yeah.
anger and
That was
love.
like one of the first Batman stories I read, which was odd.
It was
because
so great in the future Batman.
Future
story,
Batman,
though.
and he
Yeah.
like inadvertently kills Penguin. I can't remember exactly the storyline, but then he gets thrown in jail. He lets himself be thrown in jail
Yeah.
because he's killed somebody.
And Robin's out there doing all the footwork.
And then Anarchy, which is John
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah.
is in it, and Robin enlists Anarchy's help to help break Batman out.
And then they get him out.
And he
Catwoman
becomes
shows
Batman, but the Batman in jail.
Up. Yeah. That was an
That was a great
excellent
story.
story. That was one of my first stories too, actually.
I've actually
Yeah, I love
never
that.
read that.
That was
It's
great.
amazing,
That's right.
but it's just a flash forward of a possible future.
It's
When
one
Wave
issue.
Rider, when Wave Rider touches each of the heroes,
Yeah.
it just goes into this parallel future of the what if their future, but he sees it as permanent. He sees it as that's what it is.
He wants to see it look.
And he wants to find who the Monarch is,
Yeah.
but nobody ever looks at Hawk because it wasn't even originally supposed to be him.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like Booster Gold or somebody like that.
That would have been good.
Right? Give him something a little bit crazy to do. But yeah, it ended up being Hawk, and then he kills Dove because he's afraid of killing Dove. It was the whole storyline ended up very convoluted and backwards.
That one
but
issue,
it
though.
was good. That one
That was
issue.
like, it's like a
was
double
great.
size. It's like 48 pages.
Oh yeah,
it's
it was
a good
thick.
read.
It was a thick.
I
one.
think he ends up killing,
He kills the Joker, or he thought he was gonna kill it. It was.
or the Joker does die in it.
He does die.
And also, I think Catwoman dies in it too.
The Joker kills Catwoman.
Okay.
Like the Joker killed
It's like Killer
Catwoman,
Croc.
and
Everybody's in it.
Everybody was in it. It was a really epic story. Just for a basic, like, 2-issue length run, but in one, it was so epic. Just
The cover's what drew me in.
the
It's not like-
Batman rocket boots that they had. The
I do
future
remember
rocket boots. Remember that?
And I remember a specific instance of him being super cavalier and Robin like going, "Hold on, dude, you're not bulletproof.
Yeah.
Only the cape is bulletproof."
Only the cape is bulletproof.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. It reminds me, do you remember when Grant Morrison was doing the Justice League run? It was just called JLA. It was
Yeah,
during,
of course.
okay. So in that run, there was an issue, I think it was around number 5, 6, and 7,
Mhm.
possibly, if I remember correctly, but there was an old villain from the original Justice League storylines called the Key. And he was just this
dude,
old dude
yes.
that could like alternate your perception of reality, and so he has each of the Justice League members inside a alternate reality. He's got them induced in these like comas.
Yeah.
And so for Superman, he's still on Krypton as the Green Lantern
I
of
feel like I've seen
Krypton.
that. Yeah.
It was really good, and the Batman one was stellar to me because it was Batman and Catwoman had eventually gotten married. Robin, Tim Drake, took over as Batman, and the new Robin was basically Damian Wayne.
Huh.
If you remember that far back.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, so, and then the Joker's like super elderly. He's got all these bombs strapped to his chest. He's trying to kill Tim Drake and the new Robin. And then all of a sudden, the Batman crashes onto the scene. And he's like, oh, this isn't going to happen. And he starts like breaking him. But then he realizes as it's happening, he's like, this is my ultimate fantasy of how I want life to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you realize, like, that's how he really wants his life to
There
end
was an
up.
episode. There was an episode of the animated series that was kind of like that. It was the Mad Hatter or someone like that had gotten into Batman's mind.
Right.
And had given him this false reality. And what's funny is he's watching it. He's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He's got the perfect life. And then something's happening, and then Batman shows up. Like, not Bruce Wayne, some other guy. You know, because at this time, the Mad Hatter he's not eavesdropping on him. He's just trying to, take control over.
Right.
So he doesn't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Right. He
just,
has no idea.
He just has Batman in his grasp, and Bruce Wayne's having these visions. And it's one of those things like he realizes it's not real, and then he ends up fighting Batman, and then unmasking him. It's like the Mad Hatter, and he ends up killing himself, jumping off, because it's kind of like an Inception.
I feel
kind of
like
thing.
in the animated series,
the
though,
animated
that was pretty
series.
adult.
Well, he didn't kill himself because he was depressed. He did it to beat whatever's happening. He's like, this isn't real. This is a dream.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
And there's another animated one that was kind of along the lines that you're talking about for Superman, where he's on Krypton, everything's perfect.
Living the alternate life.
He has
Yeah.
he has a kid,
Mhm.
and what was disturbing to me at the time, when he figures out that it's not real, there's a little struggle there. It's like, what reality is the real reality?
Right.
And then he wakes up into the real reality. It's
You
like
kid
he
John.
had this relationship.
It's all gone.
with
You
his kid.
suffer the grief
You still
of
suffer
loss.
that.
But that multiverse issue
Mhm.
also brings up a topic to me, which is when I was young, my father had given me these 2 super-sized comic books. They were about yay big, they were
That's
these
big.
gigantic print comic
That's
books.
a big comic.
And one was Spider-Man
Wait, you
versus
said they were
Superman.
print comic?
No, print, giant print.
Okay.
One was
Sounds
Spider-Man
like a cop-out.
versus Superman, and that was
Yeah.
really cool. But the other one, which
Mhm.
we set up for today, was Batman versus the Hulk.
Dude,
Wait,
yes,
how's that even work?
How does it work? Let's see, Ronnie, you
Comic
know a little
books.
bit about the story for me?
Well, I
I
remember.
remember how it worked. It was
Yeah,
pretty.
I don't
It was
know.
fascinating.
I'm fascinated.
Well, it's
Tell me.
kind of crazy. It's how it was done was Batman used knockout gas essentially, and then Hulk is like,
That's it.
it's like
It's simple.
he's like whatever, and then he inhaled everything in.
Oh, it didn't knock him out.
It didn't knock
Oh,
him out.
okay. See, I was
So
like, oh,
Batman-
one and done.
He used all of his might and kicked him right here.
In the solar plexus,
In
right?
the
The
solar
diagram
plexus.
where he
Yeah.
had inhaled.
And then Hulk got really mad and then grew twice the size.
No, 'cause see, you gotta imagine this is the '70s Hulk.
Yeah.
So during the iteration of the TV series, the Hulk,
Yeah, okay.
put him at that power level where he can still fall out of an airplane and die.
So he's just as big as Lou Ferrigno.
He's Lou Ferrigno size.
It's the way to think about it is it's like the writing at that time. This isn't the crazy role killer Hulk that we
Yeah.
have now.
That didn't really happen. I don't feel like that happened until you got into the era of Onslaught. The
Yeah.
storyline in the '90s where Professor X and Magneto had basically fused together and become a psychic entity,
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
threatened the whole
Worldbreaker,
Marvel
excuse me.
universe. That Hulk, that lash out, because at that time he was like smart Professor Hulk,
Yeah,
and he had to
Professor
have Jean Grey
Small.
unlock the Savage Hulk, and that's where you get the angrier I get, the stronger I get. And his fist is like size of the page by the time he punches Onslaught in the face and turns him into a psychic energy death cloud. But that's not what Batman did to him when he kicked him. He just kind of knocked him unconscious.
It caused him to revert back to Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne.
he Bruce Bannered, and then Batman, of course, can beat.
So basically,
every little
like,
crap out of Bruce.
he.
But he's like, "Your name's Bruce. My name's Bruce. Is your mother's name Martha?"
Yeah, does that happen? That's how it should have happened.
That's how it should. That's the only resolution that can stop Batman from killing anybody is if your mother's name is Martha.
Yeah.
I think we have a question from the outside world. What's going on in the outside world?
Trek Tini was wondering what your favorite DC Marvel crossover was.
Trektini. Well, I love the name because it kind of sounds like you're drinking on a Star Trek Enterprise ship. Trektini. But I'm going to say favorite DC Marvel crossover. How do you actually feel about the DC versus the Marvel Universe run that they did?
I
Remember
liked it.
the 2 giant gods? One was blue and reddish, and the other was red and bluish.
I remember
Yeah, I
You
have
didn't
that.
like that?
I have it somewhere. My memory about that is really dim right now because I haven't.
Well, you
read that in a
remember
long
Dark
time.
Claw?
Well, yeah, that,
Wolverine,
that's
Batman?
Oh wait,
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Okay, and
I
then
did
Super
not like
Soldier, it was
I
the
didn't like
Captain
it.
America
I
Superman.
thought,
Yeah,
oh, that was
but-
stupid.
The Amalgam Comics is
Yeah,
what it was
I
called.
didn't like it.
Amalgam Comics.
that's what.
Dark Claw, come on.
Dark Claw was not that cool, but my favorite thing about him was his bad guy, which was the Joker mixed with Sabretooth, and they called it Hyena.
That's stupid. I'm
That
sorry.
was,
I'm
yeah, it's
sorry.
contrived, but it was interesting. It
But
was
that's what's spun
interesting.
out of the DC Marvel crossover, which was really interesting because people.
That was a crazy one.
Well,
I mean,
people had to
Dark Claw's a
vote.
90s name.
Well, people had to vote for who would win and like
Yeah.
stuff like that
It's
because
kind of like when they voted to kill off Robin
Yeah.
for Death in the Family. Jason Todd.
and those three.
So much hate against Jason Todd, but now who's your favorite Robin?
And those of you who
Huh?
voted for Superman against Hulk, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other
I don't know.
topic.
DC and Marvel don't do very well at crossing over with each other.
You know, the crossover that I do remember, the cover of, because I never read it, was Superman versus He-Man. And I remember on the
That's
cover,
DC.
Yeah,
straight up
that's
DC.
straight up
Yeah.
DC.
well, it's still,
But I still feel like
well, He-Man was
that's
gonna
not
win.
very fair to He-Man.
No,
I mean,
He-Man's
he's going to win because you want to give him love because
He-Man's-
he's not the big name.
the strongest man in the universe. Like, that's,
So if you show up on his planet and you have Superman level strength, he
Doesn't matter.
basically increases in strength. To
well, like,
match you.
so the cover was
This is Eternia. I rule.
Superman sees He-Man, and he's kind of crouched behind a rock or something, and he's got the little thought bubble on the cover. I need to be careful because
Because this
He-Man,
cat has a sword
well, he can
and
kill
a
me.
tiger.
he could kill me, and the reason he can kill him is because He-Man's the strongest man in the universe.
Or does Eternia have a red sun?
I don't know.
I feel like maybe it has a red sun.
Well,
I
that
think
and his
it has two
the sword is magic or powered by magic,
Magic, which is
Magic.
also
Which can-
Superman's death.
which it affects Superman as much as it affects anybody. It's
Right,
like, it's
he
not a
can't
weakness.
guard
well,
himself.
He-Man gets his strength from magic. So.
He
Yeah.
is magic. He's got the magic ability to not lose a furry loincloth in any
I
battle.
know it's not a Marvel or DC crossover, but it's my favorite.
Well, that's the thing is Marvel DC was really hard to always because they're so at each other's throats.
It's like a
My-
Sega Nintendo crossover. It's just not gonna happen.
My
It
favorite-
happens, it just happens so rarely, and it's because of how legally tied up they are in each other. They're not going to
Yeah.
invent a new storyline that either one of them want to maintain, because legally speaking, DC is going to try to have
Well,
it.
they're not gonna co-develop a game because like each
There
one is
was
gonna
a
want
game
it.
though, wasn't there?
No, what you're thinking of.
Way back in the day, I felt like there was a Batman and fighting with Captain America.
What you're thinking of was there was this movement going on called Mugen.
Yeah.
That's where people are like,
Yeah.
where they
That's
have their
not
own fighting
fiction.
game engines where they can actually create their own games.
Yeah, you can throw
And that's what
whatever
that
you
was
want.
from. It was on
Oh.
PC.
It was
And
great.
a
Yeah,
lot-
you can have
Headphone.
all these characters. In fact, a lot of people drew their own characters.
Yeah, did their own sprites for
their
it.
own
That's where
animations.
Batman, Superman, all those came from.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Well,
all
but
people do.
Good job for being inventive, world. I love it when you're inventive because you give me new things to think about.
But-
Speaking of,
What I was going to get back to was the crossover thing, the JLA Avengers crossover.
there
Like-
was the JLA Avengers crossover.
I
when
remember-
Superman lifted Mjolnir.
We had Mjolnir and he had Captain America's
Yeah,
shield
shield,
on
yeah.
point. That image has just been burned into my mind ever since then, and you know that's personally one of my favorites. I haven't read it in a while.
Well, I
but
feel
it's just-
anytime
it's
that
so
somebody
good.
gets to lift the hammer, anytime somebody becomes worthy, because even in that one DC versus Marvel I was talking about, Wonder Woman picked up the hammer.
I mean, she's Wonder Woman.
And that was amazing. But it was a cool costume change. It was awesome to see somebody with the hammer. Anybody who gets to hold Mjolnir, even if they're just cuddling with it in their recliner, that's amazing. You're worthy of that nap. You're the most worthy of that nap. Which is a good shout out to a guy I know. He's the coolest dude Thor I've ever had in my life. His name's Dan Stevens. A lot of this is thanks to him.
The guy in the chair.
He is the guy in the chair, and he is doing such an excellent job. If you're seeing images below the screen, I hope you are at some points in time. Unless I'm giving him a lot of credit where maybe the credit will eventually be due. But if you're seeing those images, that's due to him. He is our great technician and engineer.
Absolutely.
Doing an awesome job. Now, another crossover that I'd like to think about, because y'all are bringing up these crazy epic things, I do kind of remember that some of the horror genre got brought into the DC universe. You had like Terminator, RoboCop.
There's Predator. I remember,
Predator.
Batman vs Predator.
Oh man, like that was one of
Yes.
the greatest. And there's a figure coming out about that too, I think.
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
Comic-Con.
It's Batman versus Predator, and you have Batman the armor and with a baseball bat, and then you have the Predator, and it's being released by NECA.
NECA does a great job with their
Yes.
designs. I'm not sure how well they always have as far as their actual endurance. You know, because once you stand the figure up, you take it out of the box. Heat, cold, any kind of variations can
They
have-
weaken the joints.
The early McFarlane toys, I had a friend that collected them, and he had them up on a shelf. And then, like, one day he heard something, and oh, look, sure enough, there's the torso of one of them.
Right.
So he, like, was like, well, it must have fallen and broken, right? So he looked for the legs. He couldn't find them. And he looked on the shelf, and the legs are still sitting on the
Yeah.
shelf. The quality of plastic was so poor, it just broke and fell.
Well, but that's the thing is you have to maintain a consistent environment with some of these figures.
It's
and
just the heating
it's
up and
one
cooling
of
off
those
and
things that
heating
they can't handle. And sometimes they used to use those metal bolts in the knee joints and in the arm joints,
Mhm.
and it seemed like those heated up more, and they switched over to plastic, maybe for cost
Well, He-Man,
efficiency.
all my He-Man toys, his legs fell off eventually.
Yeah, the rubber band
Yeah,
legs.
Rubber Band and G.I. Joe too.
G.I. Joe
Oh,
had to
yes.
die from the worst weakness in the world, which is rubber band guts.
Yeah.
He has rubber band guts. If you woke up in the middle of the night to go pee and you stepped on one of the pilots to the Cobra Commander ship, he was no longer able to fly that ship. Unless you're an inventive kid and he just becomes part man, part
See, I
ship.
think the problem was,
Ship man.
yeah,
I ship man.
as a kid, I would take my toys into the bath, and I think that's part
That also does a
Yeah.
lot of damage. Also, don't
Yeah.
stick them in a cup and freeze them in the freezer. Because, well, I did that a lot.
of
Well,
cryostasis.
yeah, Lionel was trying to reach for the Sword of Omens. He got frozen in the water, which looked like a big cup. And
I thought you were trying to
sense.
freeze Captain America again.
I did do that as well.
You know,
Actually,
actually,
in the old Marvel one with the shooting shield,
Yeah.
he got frozen a few times, but he had such simple joint patterns that he lived through it every time. Lion-O, not so lucky, my
I
friend.
Well, yeah.
buried a bunch of my
Because they
toys.
died.
Yeah, they died in
They
battle.
died.
So-
When they die in battle, you have to respect them in the afterlife.
Well, there are some that actually. Just one more thing before we get back on topic.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about like the freezer. You actually could stick Iceman in the freezer for color change stuff.
The little thing that he had on
Yeah.
his, he had a slide board that he came on with
Yeah.
a square cut out, and if you put his feet in it, there were peg holes, and you could fill up the little square with water, stick it in the freezer, so it would freeze it.
Yeah.
When you pop him back out, he could come out of it and you could slide him on an ice cube.
That is amazing.
It was pretty neat, but his knees never held up.
And
Oh, he flopped back.
Yeah, they flopped all the time because he's constantly freezing and warming him.
Yeah.
and another one was a color change Mr. Freeze too. Like his head would change colors.
Yeah, from the what was that, Batman and
That was the
Robin
Toy Biz. I
series?
think it's the Toy Biz stuff.
I think it was the Batman and Robin when that came out, right?
Possibly.
It was a lot of those movies introduced. But before we get into
Yeah.
movies, I want to. What do we have on the whole horror genre versus the hero genre?
Well, we do have this, and personally, this is one of my favorites. It's going to be the.
Gotta get my glasses
Yeah,
right
get
here.
your glasses straight.
Oh, man.
Got look at the small print and everything. Dark Horse Comics with DC Comics, Aliens, and obviously you can tell that this is the Batman, the premier human male going against.
No,
one of
he's
the
not armored.
strongest-
He's
no,
just-
he's not. That's just regular old.
Just a guy.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you feel about the drawing of the Grey Tights. You're supposed to believe that it's some kind of body armor, or it's
That's his
amazing.
muscles.
It's just his muscles.
Now,
That's just his muscles.
now we'll
His muscles
say-
are armor.
some of the best stuff from this is going to be the first crossover with Batman and Alien,
Oh, this is
because it was actually
Yes.
illustrated
Yeah,
This is
by
an omnibus.
Bernie Wrightson, and
Yes.
he is one of the best artists and horror artists, just hands down.
Right.
Right now I'm also reading another book called Batman the Cult, which I'm reading it for the first time. It is really terrifying and
Oh,
really
here's a
good.
crossover.
If it brings you in
Look,
that
it's
well.
got the
Well, Wildcats.
yeah, Wildcats. are
Grifter
in
was
this.
one of my favorite
Yeah.
things. Jim Lee, please
you
do
guys can
more
see
with
this or
Grifter
not.
since you're in DC now. Please bring him out and give him some good stuff to do.
Some good art.
Yep, whatever just happened there, but we can't necessarily just smash people all the time. We promote what we love, and we don't smash what we hate because
Oh, wait, so
my
there-
stepmama always told me to
Right.
promote what you love.
What was
Yes.
it?
And I
Proof
love.
that it's not body armor is just a man.
What, like when he tears his uniform a little bit,
Yeah,
you see his
yeah.
pec sticking out?
See his pecs sticking out.
Well, maybe it's still some sort of bio-weave
No, it's
body
there.
armor
That's a cloth.
that
Just
is
cloth.
totally cloth.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like
it's the-
later Batman
There's
got
some
body
Bernie
armor.
Wrights and stuff
Yeah.
Oh, it's got the old school.
Yeah, and he's got the little tears on his thighs. Okay, well, I'll give it to you.
Just
It's
a man
tights.
versus a beast. That's what
It's
it's about.
the man versus
No, it's not
beast.
the man.
The.
It's not-
No, not the man like
Yeah.
Power Against, like the as in the premier, the apex man,
Apex.
the apex alpha male.
There's a superhero title for it. Apex.
Apex. I think they've done
Is
that.
there, have they done that?
I think they may have
I-
done that.
think so.
I think Alpha's been taken, Apex has been taken. Most things have been taken. And
There's-
realistically, the only thing is, as long as you don't name something either Captain and Marvel.
Captain Apex.
If you name it Captain Marvel, there are so many comic book companies out there that will eat you alive. It's just not even funny. DC will try to come after you. Marvel will be like, nope, we just finally earned the rights to that. You can't have it. And then Fawcett City Comics will just kind of be sitting in the background like, remember the days when we invented it?
Yeah.
You know, thanks. DC squash them. That's too much like
Yeah.
Superman. Don't use them. Don't use them. We'll buy them up because you're not using them.
And now there's a new.
Ingenious, DC. If anything, you have the best lawyers in
The arguments there.
the world. And you have Jim Lee, which I don't know how they bought him, but they have him. They own
They
him.
just put him in charge. I say you get to make all the decisions.
If they did that, I would do that too. I agree.
Apex was a character.
Apex was a character, right?
So can we buy the rights to him?
Is he unused?
Created by
Yeah, they know
writer Dennis Hopeless
Oh.
and artist Kevin Walker.
Wow.
First appeared in the story Worst Things in Avengers Arena #1, November 13th.
Alright, now, okay, but we would actually have Captain Apex.
Captain Apex.
Or Commander
Well,
Apex.
that's
Lieutenant Apex.
General Apex.
He's General Apex. He's not a general.
He's just
a
generally
general.
an Apex Predator. Apex Alpha. Alpha Apex
Commander
Male.
Apex.
Apex Male.
That's the
General
whole stick.
enlisted.
Is that he's just an average Apex Predator.
He's
the
just a
general
guy who kind
guys.
of falls in line. He's not quite on the level of the Komodo dragon or the great white shark. He's just kind of like garden snake. He can get you if you're a mouse, but if you're a house cat, all bets are off.
I like the idea of him being from like some planet where it's just full of super apex level people.
And he's the guy.
Well, no, he's like the lowest of them. Like
Right.
he's cast away because he's so not powerful. But like in the context of like regular people. He's
But
like
he has to
super-
go to a different planet.
Yeah.
And
He's
then he's
cast
like,
out.
awesome.
Yeah, and he's awesome there.
He's awesome. He's like, oh, I love
He's
this.
basically slumming it. And like everyone's worshiping him. They don't know that he's like the worst of his kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's so many people that come and they're like, you shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, I'm going to fight you for this planet because I actually like it now.
Maybe.
And then he fights each one of them, and one-on-one, because of his belief in himself, he does better.
Oh. And then he goes back.
And then he goes back.
Yeah.
And he takes over, and then he's the apex of the
There you
apex.
go. That's
He's
all stories he
apex
just wrote.
squared.
It's like Sean, get on that, write it.
Yeah, go ahead and write that up for us, and we'll let you know when that's coming out. But one of the big things I do want to talk about is Bat movies. I love Bat movies. I think everybody within our age group loves Bat
Like
movies.
movies about bats.
Yes.
Like nature movies.
Nature movies, completely. The
I like
caves,
nature.
sonar, senses, just bats.
Yeah, 'cause it's
No,
like
Batman, man.
National Geographic.
No, we're talking straight up Batman.
Oh, okay.
Going all the way back. I mean, we can go back to the TV series if you want to.
The West. Adam
The
West.
Adam West series, which ended in the movie, which had the oh so epic Bat Shark repellent. Because if you're not carrying that with you, you're not prepared.
That's
Not
an
at all.
Octopus Inc., right?
Anyway, We can go back there if we want
I
to.
think it
Or
goes
there's
further
the
back.
serials.
That
The
also goes further
serials.
back, yeah.
They
Mhm.
were just gangsters fighting against Batman, and he kind of his cowl didn't always stay on quite right.
Yeah, he has the floppy ears. And
Yeah,
it's
floppy
great.
ears. It was. It's great if you love B movies.
Yeah.
If you love B
What
list.
about the animated movies?
The animated movies, I mean, starting with Mask of the Phantasm. Who doesn't
Oh.
love Mask of the
And
Phantasm?
then,
That was
what was
that
the
was
other one?
good.
Mr. Freeze, that was that.
That
the
one was
Mr.
really good, too.
The Batman and Mr. Freeze, I think is what it was
Just
just
Mr.
called.
Freeze.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did a really good job with that.
DC
But
does
animated,
great.
that's always been Bruce Timm, though, hasn't it?
Not always. It started with that, I think.
Well, he's always been
He's
like the
doing it now.
producer. and
Yeah,
heading
he's
up.
he's kind of in control now.
But yeah, like most of them have just been Bruce Timm stuff.
Bruce Timm just does an excellent job.
None of
He
that would
is
have happened,
awesome.
like the animated Bruce Timm. But that.
I feel like he did a great job with that. He
Opener
changed
did.
that art style up so that people could come in and kind of keep that consistency going with. They've gotten better in the more recent years of their movies. I do like a little bit more of the gritty animated style that they have. It's still not quite that super realistic animation, but it's a step up from the era of the animated series,
Yeah.
which was good for the storylines.
Oh, of
It was
course.
amazing
Yeah,
storylines.
storylines were all amazing.
It's
and-
just that the art was a little bit more, it was less defined, more cartoonish
See, I
to
like
keep
it.
it kind of flowing. And it had, but it had that noir feel.
Yeah.
Like, you remember the
Heavy
old
shadow.
episodes where they had the Grey Ghost?
Oh, who didn't like
He
the
had
Ghost?
he was like the shadow, basically. Like,
Yeah.
who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Speaking of, he
Shadow
was
knows.
voiced by
But it was Batman.
Adam West, right?
I'm not entirely sure if that was him or not. Can you check and see if the Grey Ghost off of the Batman animated series was voiced by Adam West, or if so, who it was voiced by?
Yes,
But
please.
basically, it's this guy.
I'd like to
he's
think
the
I
old
remember that
mystery
correctly.
man, aesthetic appeal. He's got the old fedora, the trench coat, suit, get
I
up.
don't
He's got
remember
these
him at all.
cool. Oh yeah, he had this cool like gas
Was
mask.
it the
thing.
original?
It was the original animated
Voiced
series.
by
It was-
Adam West.
Oh,
There we go.
so-
It was Adam West. So
And
that was
I
a
had
good
to
tie-in
rewatch
for him.
those now.
Go
Yeah.
back. It's like first season. I think
Yeah.
it's first season.
Yeah, it's the whole thing was that Bruce loved watching that when he was growing up.
He grew up respecting him. That's what gave him
Oh,
the
I
Batman.
kind of do have a sense, a memory is tingling. And
It's is your John Tingle
my John
going?
Tingle's going off.
Oh man,
Yeah.
my Tony Tingle's going off now. How's your tingle going, Ronnie?
Don't call it that.
Anyway, Batman.
So Batman movies, though. Now, I'd like to know, and I'll start with you, Mon Frere Beard, Monsieur Black. What do you feel? What is one of your favorite inceptions of live action cinema for Batman?
favorite, like as a
It could be a solo movie. You could choose an overarching
like it has to be the whole
story.
movie. It can't be like
I
an
would-
aspect.
I would think that it needs to be that movie, and then explain why and what aspect of it draws you in.
Okay, I will say is the 1989 Batman.
Of course, yes.
I
Undebatable.
Yeah, I like the way the costume looks. I like the acting, the atmosphere, the Joker, like everything just kind of wrapped up really nicely. And I think, and no offense to Tim Burton, I think it was an accident that he made it so perfect. And I think that because the sequel just didn't do it for me.
The sequel was good, but it was a little bit more Burton
Yeah.
than the first one was. The
Yeah.
first one was like Burton contained,
It was, yeah, it was like
and then the
little
second
hints of
one was
Burton.
Burton uncaged.
Yeah,
And that's what they should call that.
Burton Uncaged,
Burton
Batman
Uncaged.
Burton. Okay.
Now, at the same time, he was supposedly coming up with Superman Lives, which was his Nicolas Cage
Yeah, I saw
Superman
that. That was
movie.
off the rails. I was.
Yeah, but his Batman Returns got not the great critical acclaim that the first one got, and that's what killed Superman Lives.
But there's just something about the way that movie felt, and it could be that I was like a kid when I saw it.
Yeah,
But that bat suit and that just everything black, and then that yellow symbol.
Yeah.
Just I don't know.
It was aesthetically perfect. I think that I agree with you entirely. Michael Keaton as Batman
Michael Keaton.
is the Batman.
Speaking
Is the amazing Batman.
Of that jogged my memory a little bit from just San Diego Comic Con has just been overwhelmingly just
That's the
too
way it
much
works.
news. Yeah.
Try being there. When you're at a San Diego Comic Con, your brain doesn't work right.
It doesn't. I've been
It's
there.
amazing. I love it. I had actually gotten there, and just a little side note, I'd gotten there, and when you get to the convention center, there's like a little entry hall.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walk in, I've got my stepson with me, and we walk in, we see artwork. I think Lou Ferrigno was over there signing some autographs, you know, so obviously you made it. You're at the Comic Con, right? And I gave up, like at that entryway. I was just like, okay, cool. It's not quite what I thought it was gonna be, but it's pretty interesting. Then my phone rings.
Like, oh, I'm in a hotel.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
a hotel.
It's just kind of cheesy, but whatever, it's cool. People like to freak out about this. My phone rings, and I answer. It was my old Lance Corporal, this girl named Stephanie Trail. And she says, Corporal, where are you? And I was like, I'm here, where are you? And she was like, where here are you? And I was like, I'm standing in front of this picture of the Silver Surfer. It's beautifully painted. And I was like, I'm at the Silver Surfer picture. Which one are you at? And she was like, the what?
Is she there?
Yeah, she said, have you even come into the convention center yet? And I was like, I walked in the door, and she was like, no, there's more doors. Hold on, I'm coming to get you. She had to come up, grab me and my stepson. We start walking in, and I'm telling you, when these doors opened up and we actually walked into what Comic-Con is, my
It's like
brain
a wall of people.
exploded. It was, there were so many people. There were Master Chiefs, and there were the movie Sucker Punch had just come out, and so they're there with this big robot armor thing, completely cosplayed. There were so many Princess Leias and not enough Jabba the Hutts, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a Princess Leia everywhere. My son took a picture
Yes.
with every single one of them. He was dressed as Deadpool one day, Link the next day. So he'd just walk up and he's like, "Can I take a picture with you?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, sure." And I'm getting pictures of him with so many beautiful Leias. It's like not even funny. There's like a Leia of the rainbows, like one from each nationality, from every continent. Everybody loves that Leia costume. And I'm not talking the white dress. I'm talking the metal bikini.
The slave.
The
Leia.
slave Leia. Everybody was dressed as that one. And it was so amazing. One group of females was walking around, and they were a complete Justice League, a female
Oh,
Justice
that's
League.
awesome.
That was
That's so
really
cool.
cool. One guy had a completely decked out Iron Man suit, which of course I had to take a picture with him. His wife was dressed as Black Widow. That was really epic. There was a Deadpool walking around with the health meter bar that he had snatched down to use to beat people with from one of the old
Oh, that's
Capcom video games.
yes. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
So I couldn't process.
Yeah.
My brain wasn't even remembering what I was doing
It's
as
too much
I was doing it.
information.
It was too much
Yes.
awesome. And at one point I'm sitting there trying to take a breather and I'm trying to catch my breath, and Sage is standing next to me. He's looking up and he's talking to me, and so I'm kind of talking to him. And this guy just walks up out of nowhere and he says, "I'm sorry, but I just took a picture of you because it was too perfect, but I wanted to show it to you. Maybe if I shared it with you, you'd give me the rights to have this picture." And I was like, "That's incredibly well said," or whatever, just show me the picture. It was when Avengers was being announced, and I was standing with Sage dressed as Deadpool, and right behind me was this picture of Iron Man flying up on the back of this promo artwork,
Yeah.
like right behind me. So it's like the shadow I was giving off was Iron Man, which is of course why I have the
Sweet.
arc reactor tattoo, is because Sage initially thought I was Iron Man.
I'd like to see that picture.
I'd have to go digging through,
Yeah.
but it was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing.
Let's get back. The news, like talking about the '89 Batman movie, Mezco, which you see that figure there, it's from Mezco.
Great Mezco figure.
That's great.
There's a
Their
1989.
articulation is amazing.
Yes. There's a 1989 Batman movie, Michael Keaton Batman, being made by Mezco.
Oh, you
And
made
they
a
went-
figure from that.
Yeah, the
Right.
action figure.
Oh,
And
wow.
what's crazy
See,
about it?
we all love '89 Batman because, as you can tell, An actual really good friend of mine sent me this in the mail. She saw it and she was like, you know, I saw 89 Batman and all I could hear was Tony needs this. And she just sent it to me. So thank you, whoever you are out there, anonymous Batman giver girl.
And what's crazy is that they went into so much detail about the Mezco figure that his head doesn't turn.
Oh, really? You gotta
Yes.
actually turn the body?
He has to turn the body.
Yeah.
So,
I'm Batman.
Yeah, so I mean, they actually paid attention to that and the costume details, which is just it's great.
Is it the same scale as that, about this tall?
You know, as a guy that's had reconstructive surgery on his neck, I feel like I really identify with that Batman more. I don't get down with the actual singular joint Cavill.
Yeah, you have to turn your whole body to look at people.
Yeah, this is how good Batman is at martial arts, that he cannot even move his head and he can pound.
He doesn't
it.
need to, you can just block it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he had that thing that was on his hand. I think it was the second movie. That thing like shoots out and just punches this guy in the
Oh, I
chest.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway, speaking of the movies, though, Joel Schumacher. How do you feel about the work that Joel Schumacher did on the Batman series? But obviously, starting with Forever, ending with
One
Robin.
phrase. Cool party.
Oh, Bat nipples is the only thing that I can think of. Do you like the Bat nipples?
No.
I liked what he was trying to do. He was trying to go for the feel of the 1960s Batman, but
I just thought something.
live action.
So like,
Or not, well, the almost live action, but modern time version
it's
of it.
the Batman and Robin, right? That's the one with the bat nipples.
No, Batman Forever had nipples.
Batman Forever.
And
Yes.
that's where they started it, and
Okay.
of course he had Robin introduced in that, and then Batman and Robin, Batgirl was introduced.
Yeah.
So basically your introduction movie, you're never in the title.
Did Batgirl have bat nipples?
She did not, she had a bat corset.
So why does she not have nipples, but then Batman does?
Right? That's a little sexist in
It's
my
a little
opinion,
sexist.
but there was a suit up butt shot of each one of them. So whether it was Robin or George Clooney's Batman, or I think it was Alicia Silverstone, she had a nice little
It was the last
Batgirl
movie she
butt.
ever made.
shot that she did, you know, so good for you, everybody, if it was even your real butt when you took that shot, or your stunt butt. If so, Joey Lawrence was probably your stunt butt. He was like, whoa! But, you know, but.
So that's your favorite, is the Joel Schumacher?
No. Don't you dare.
Yeah, it's basically
No.
like Batman in Las Vegas to me.
But no, it's-
cheesy.
It's fun. I quote Batman and Robin all the time. It's just a fun movie.
It's
to
great
watch.
for off-the-line cheesy quotes.
But my favorite is probably going to start some fires. Favorite version of Batman, hands down for me, is the Ben Affleck Batman. That's because to me it's like he's more.
Batman v Superman?
Yeah, Batman v Superman.
I-
That Batman, it's. You know, it's Batman just unhinged. Like he's completely.
Batfleck did a really good job.
Yes.
I thought he did. I thought that as Batman, he did better. As story goes, Christopher Nolan presented an amazing trilogy. I'm more of a fan of Ben Affleck's version of it than I am with
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, that makes
Think.
sense.
Bale Man versus Batfleck. I think that Batfleck takes it on the Batman front. Bale Man, I think, just did good because he was surrounded by an amazing environment, a great direction, really good villain actors. I mean,
Oh yeah.
can anybody think of anything more amazing than Heath Ledger as the Joker?
I thought that Nicholson did an okay job.
Nicholson did a
Oh,
great
he did a
job. Heath
fantastic
Ledger went to like this new level of reiterating the character, which to me brings up an interesting point. They have a Joker solo movie coming up. Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker, and it's just each preview that I've seen of it, I am far more excited every time I watch it.
They're taking no inspiration from the comic books. What do you think about that?
I feel like somewhat they are.
Well, I mean, it's the Joker.
I feel like there was the
They-
what was
they've
it,
said
Brian
they have.
Osriello, the Joker little series that he did, a little 4-part miniseries very much so reminds me of that. And of course, the Killing Joke
Yeah,
Joker,
it's
where
like-
he's a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, that's what I thought of too. It's like, you know, you read the stuff, it's like, oh, we're not taking any inspiration from the comics or
Except
anything like
you
that.
really get into the heart of it with the inspiration of those
Yeah,
comics.
absolutely.
I think that they are, and I think that
Well, I
we're going
mean-
to see that when we watch it. But it is untied from the rest of this DC untiable universe that they have, which their cinematic universe is kind of.
They don't have one.
It's chaotic. It's chaotic. It's,
There's going to be one. They kind of. I think they're going to do a soft reboot, but that's for another episode.
DC loves soft reboots. That's what they do. They do it really well. But you know what? Keep Aquaman, because Aquaman did an amazing job. He and Wonder Woman are some of the best DC movies I've ever seen. They've ranked right up there, just underneath 89 Batman for me. But speaking of top-ranked Batman, I'm going to take a question real quick, and then I'm going to ask you one more thing about what Batman's doing.
Trectini was wanting to know, how do you feel about Affleck's Batman's motives? The city was destroyed by Superman, who didn't seem to care about the damage he was doing.
I'll let you take that first.
Well, for me, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you have a Batman that's. I mean, you just see in the shots, you saw like the ha-ha-has with painted on the Robin costume. I mean, this is a very angry, bitter Batman who just out there. I mean, he's killing people left and right. I
Any
mean,
kind
it's-
of motive gives him a reason to
Right, and when he sees that, it's like, oh, this is another threat. It's like, no, I'm not going to let. Everything has been taken away from him already, and then here we have these two powered beings. He needs to figure out how to take them out before they take even more from him.
What do you think about it? How did you feel
About the
whole thing?
destruction, I wish you had asked a different question, because that's a hard one to answer.
I think it's a girl.
I-
Because Trectini sounds hot to me.
Okay.
It sounds sexier than it does dudely. Of course, Trectini can write in and say, no, I'm a man, I've got a great beard. And I'll correct myself, but to me, I'm envisioning like something along the lines of My Girl Friday or Cortana.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think at that level, like, I think he was pretty well distracted from every other thing, except for stopping a superpowered villain that was as strong as Superman. I can see the argument where, like, he should have, like, flown away and maybe got him to come, but that wouldn't have to work.
And that's fine, that's
Like,
fine.
yeah.
I mean, if you're a superpowered person on a superpowered mission to fight a superpowered villain, there's going to be
There's going to be collateral
damage. And maybe if Batman had been more interested in helping, he could have helped cordon off the area, escort civilians away
Mhm.
from the area. He could have done a little bit more before he was just pissed about it. My main thing about that movie was the final battle between, not the final battle, but the battle between Batman and Superman, where it's like,
Martha?
well, not just the Martha thing, but like when he first shows up, he's like, we need to talk. And now I'm going to flex for 10 minutes and not actually talk to you about what I came to talk to you about because you're being misled. Now, he could have said even that, but he just says, we need to talk. And then guns come out, start shooting him, and he's like, you're not listening to me. And Batman's like, it's because you're not talking. You know, like, say something. Get to the point. Let's just be here and flex with each other for a few minutes.
Finally, someone made a counterpoint that I can actually agree with.
Right?
And it's like, no one has made that counterpoint to me ever in every single debate, and you finally pointed that out. Thank you.
He never spoke.
But,
If Superman had spoke, I think Batman would have listened. He could have opened with, these are my parents' names, but I don't think it would have been necessary. He could have just said, look, dude, I am a strange, adopted child of this planet, but my mother, who's really pretty in the new movies, was kidnapped by a strange little bald man who's another billionaire out there. Maybe we'll do a show on that billionaire at some point. And, Batman would have been like, what's her name? Martha. Oh, let's skip all this fighting so that we can save this ammo to go fight this super doom beast that's built by the super crazy bald guy.
well, I was going to say, it's like the whole, like, Martha aspect. Have you seen the extended cut of Batman vs. Superman?
I haven't.
Yeah, but that's
I haven't
actually,
had much time in my life.
it's better than the theatrical version. But,
I'll try it out. I'll give it a shot for you.
But,
It's
what it
3
is,
hours
it's
long.
like, it's
I'm
not.
only going to do that if there's an Avenger present.
Batman actually has been having plagued with nightmares and everything like that.
Yeah,
about his
but he's
mom,
got
and
some
then
sort of weird.
Also, they give a kind of reason, like a backstory
reason. It's
for
like
his-
that's why he freaks out because he's been having nightmares about that, and then
But they were
he takes some,
supposed to
like, background.
relatively put that into Brainiac's hand in the Justice League movie, like as if Brainiac was contorting his mind. But
We digress, but
I digress. But how do you feel about the new shiny Batman? Shiny vampire Batman.
well, he's not a shiny vampire anymore. I'm
He's
actually
grown up.
really,
It's Pattinson.
really
Oh,
intrigued
that's
to
what
see
you're
what he's
talking
going
about. I was
to
like,
Yeah.
what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's
Shiny?
shiny.
Like an arm?
Yeah, I'm shiny
No, it's-
because I'm Batman now.
And then
I'm not a
vampire-
vampire
I didn't get it
anymore.
until just now.
But no, I'm actually really excited to see what he can do. I haven't seen any of his movies. Any
You
of them.
haven't seen the.
I
I've
don't
seen.
think Twilight.
I've seen
No,
the
because
Twilight.
my wife is amazing and she hasn't made me watch it.
That's good job for her. That's for you, Casey. I just fist bumped you.
I've seen Twilight.
The Twilights are
I mean, he's an actor, so he should be able to act.
Yeah.
just because somebody's well, okay. There's tons of people who are actors who we expect to come in and maybe not have like the middle initial B, maybe the last name Jordan, and not like ruin a part because you're an actor. You should be professional. There's a question from the audience. Distract me from my anger.
It's not a question, but Trek TD made a funny point of there are vampire bats.
There are vampire bats in this head. Dang well, gosh dang,
And there's a vampire
darn it!
Batman.
This will not be Dracula versus Batman. If not, I'll stop. I'll stop watching
Anyways.
everything.
But no, it's
I can't do it.
it's interesting. It's like because like a lot of people are getting upset about this, which kind of reminds me of when Keaton was cast as Batman. People flip their lids. They're like,
Comedian
the guy
can't do
from
this.
Mr. Mom.
Yeah, you
Keaton?"
can't do it.
Having Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, Mr. Mom. What was that one where he was? Anyway, Michael Keaton's
Yeah.
amazing, but
And he
nobody
proved everybody
believed
wrong.
it.
But I'm hoping that Robert Pattinson's going to prove everybody wrong, and it's going to be really good. And there's actually a thing showing San Diego Comic Con where
How do you think he'll actually look?
Michael Giacchino, the composer that's
No.
usually with Matt Reeves, he actually filmed the audience and he had them repeat after him, Matt Reeves, do not screw this Batman movie up.
Nice.
And then Matt Reeves actually posted that video on Twitter if you want to check it out.
Well, I think that I'm looking forward to it because at this moment there is a huge gap in my life of time where I don't know what will come next because Endgame ended my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe
Yes.
for the time being, and I would like to get into that topic, specifically a tribute to the man himself, Robert Downey Jr., who is Iron Man. And on our next episode, on the same Turn the Page time, on the same Turn the Page channel, even if I get sick and end up in the hospital, we will film from that point, and you will never have to miss another episode of Turn the Page. And we will talk about how Iron Man is epically awesome, but that epicness truly came from Robert Downey Jr. himself,
Yes.
and not necessarily the comic book inspirations. And that's what I want to talk about next time, gang. And if you join us, and Trektini, come back. I love your questions, and
Absolutely.
I love the mental image I'm getting of the Cortana thing. I feel like Cortana's just talking to me. So for now, this is Master Chief signing off, and we hope to see you soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your grandmother, and force all your friends to watch too, because we love you. This is a Saturday Night Gaming production, and tune in to our podcast on Saturday Night Gaming as well. So